Hands rest over the lower abdomen. The tongue rests gently on the roof of your mouth. You're breathing in and out through your nose. And just see if you can notice where your breath is right now. If you came rolling into this practice at 800 miles an hour because you were getting a bunch of stuff done before, it's likely your breath is high. It may be in your chest, it may be a little more in your solar plexus. If you had the luxury of getting to kind of slip into this session from a place of being pretty calm and centered, your breath will already be low. Or if you just are very skilled with your breath, you're going to find it down low. Just as it can chronically be high, we're going to do things that are going to help you breathe into different places so that at will, you can drop your breath down low, because very cool things happen to our nervous system when we get well versed at breathing into this part. So right now, again, we're just checking in to see where it wants to be. Give it a smile. And then let's take a little wider leg stance. And we're going to rotate. Now, the rotation comes from the hips. So just let your arms swing how they want to. Many of the movements we do have got a part of letting go and a part of activating. This classic Qi Gong movement called knocking on the door of life is a good example of that. Our hips drive the movement, but even they have got a sense of flowing and ease. And then our arms are just this passive reflection of that. So see what it feels like to just let your arms go. Feel a little bit of rotation in your spine. Your breath is steady. Many times we'll pair the breath with movement, and then there's times we'll disconnect the breath. In other words, we just let the breath be. This is one of those just let it be moments, other than to say the tongue rests gently on the roof of your mouth and you're breathing in and out through your nose. And now let that front arm start to knock over the lower abdomen, and the back arm knocks on the low back, the upper low back. If you've got that range in your shoulder, don't worry if you don't, you can tap right on your sacrum. So ideally the hand is landing right at about L1, L2, that's your first, second lumbar vertebrae. If you don't have that shoulder flexibility, no problem, just let it land where it lands. But again, the hips drive the movement and we're knocking. What we're doing here is stimulating acupressure points that help us bring energy into our lower abdomen. Generally, we think of the lower abdomen as the place we want to store energy. So energy travels through our mind, energy travels through our heart. And life gets rich when we play with those energies, and we have energy in those areas. But in general, if energy gets stuck in those areas, life gets hard. And so many of the practices we do help to open the door so that we can let the energy sink into our lower abdomen, which is designed to handle that energy. Now, let's come back to the knocking. We're going to take that front hand now up to some lung points. Acupressure points 1 and 2, L1 and 2. These points right between the chest and the shoulder, just below the collarbone, help us release tension in the chest, help clear feelings like grief, loss, depression, which are the negative emotions that come with fall. Now, it can show up any time of the year, but there's something about the energy of fall that opens the door for those feelings a little bit more. Those feelings are also the energy that we use to transform to courage and inspiration, the upside of fall emotions. These are also immune points. As we knock on these, it helps give our immune system a little bit of a bump, which is awesome as the winds pick up a fall, the temperature drops a bit, and we start to head to winter. Now let's let that front hand knock over the upper traps. So knocking over those points that open the door for clear thinking. Right at the top of the shoulders, that back hand still knocking right over the upper low back. Then let's come back to the lung points. And then let's drop lower, referred to as the lower dantian. We've got a middle, an upper, and a lower dantian. Now, let the knocking go. And let's go back to where we started, where the hips were turning and the arms are just this nice passive reflection. And allow your attention to rest on what we call the formless part of this. So the form is the knocking. The formless is just feeling the air move between your fingers. And then let's bring that right back to where we were before that of checking in with the breath. So hands come to the lower abdomen. And what you'll probably notice is you're a little bit tingly in your arms. With a little bit of luck, your chest feels a little more open. And the breathing drops. And now that the breathing is dropped, let's exercise our birthright. In other words, we're going to breathe in the belly, in the chest, in our collarbones, those three zones. Now at rest, our breathing should just be very light and subtle in the lower abdomen. But our body always loves to know that if we need to, we can breathe big. And so it is good to work on breathing mechanics where we breathe big. But you're going to hear me, and you'll get well versed at this by the time we're done with our 8 sessions. The real skill is, can you have that ability to breathe big, but most of the time breathe very subtle? And as time goes on, I'll unleash the science of why that is so important, from what's happening in the electrical system, our nervous system, and what's happening in our blood chemistry when we do that. But now, let's go big. So breath into your belly, fill your belly, fill your belly. Then a breath into your chest, fill the chest, front, back, sides. And then a last dimension of the breath where we increase the vertical dimension by trying to pick our collarbones up with that big breath in, and then let it go. Just take your time with the exhale. We're going to do this a few times. So we'll go belly, expanding, chest, expand, vertical dimension, the collarbones lift just a bit, and then let it go. And let's do one more. So a breath into the belly, into the chest, into the collarbones, and release. Nice. Again, we're just showing our body the full excursion of what we can do. Let's do some movements now that actually increase that even more. We're going to do a movement called spinal cord breathing. So with spinal cord breathing, the hands come back, we create a light fist, and then we open the hands, and with a breath out, we curve forward, come back to a closed fist position. The knees stay still. There's a slight bend in the knee. There's not an up and down going movement with the body. There's just a opening or arching back, and then a curving forward. Now let me tell you about the breath here. The breath in just naturally draws in with the movement, and then we use the movement to help the breath out. So we breathe out, breathe out, breathe out, breathe out. Something unique about the fall, or what we could say is unique about depression and sadness or grief, is we tend to bias the breath in and we shortchange the breath out. So to convert those feelings that do just tend to come with life into things like inspiration and courage, we actually work the exhale. So let's do that with a little bit more gusto now. Here's our breath in, and now really let the breath out come out. Feel free to breathe out through the mouth. So a breath in through the nose, and a big breath out through the mouth. Another. And a big breath out. Now hold the end of the breath out just for a moment. Just feel that stillness. And then relax. Now, what we just did with that is a type of purging. In order to purge, we were breathing way more than our metabolic need. In other words, we were breathing much more than our body actually needed. When we do that intentionally and when we do that skillfully, we can kind of just help purge, whether it's built up carbon dioxide or negative emotions, feelings that we have. The downside of movements like that is we literally are hyperventilating. And when we hyperventilate, I'm going to take some chemistry and really simplify it here. We drop carbon dioxide in the blood in a way that's not good. It actually changes the pH of blood and makes it hard for oxygen to get out. So even though we've got a bunch of oxygen in the blood, it can't get out to the cells where the work is needed. That's why you feel dizzy when you've hyperventilated. Again, we will do that sometimes intentionally, but for the most part, we're always going to follow it up then with allowing the breath to become very subtle. So let's do a subtle breathing practice called Buddha holds up the earth. With a breath in, it's a very soft, easy, low volume breath in. The arms come up overhead. And then we just enjoy this nice, luxurious breath out. So don't feel like you have to do this big excursion movement that is your end range. There will be times we stretch. This version right now is not a stretch. It's really just a movement to represent the energy flow. And so we're not getting bossy with the energy. We're not pushing, pulling, forcing. We're actually just seeing if we can have an experience with the energy that flows naturally. And you'll feel that natural flow as you let this just be very easy. At times will work, but a lot of Qigong is learning how to let things be easy. Let's do one more. And this time we're going to really bias the length of time with the exhale. So don't think of it as force. You're just going to go luxuriously slow. Luxuriously, I'm sure that's a word. And release. Nice. We're going to do a practice called shaking now. We just calm the system down. Now we're going to activate it. We do this alternating between calming and activating as a way to massage the nervous system. A breath in through the nose, a breath out through the mouth. We're going to use a heart sound, which is an HA. It's ah. So breath in through the nose. Just let it all go. One more. And then check in again. And it's likely the tingling has gotten a little louder. You can feel the vibration coming down the arms, out the fingers, probably down through the legs as well. Just recognize that force as a force that's going to help you continue to drop the breathing into the lower abdomen. And then let's take a wide leg stance. We're going to move into a bit of the work phase, but even in the work phase, we're going to try and hold a sense of fluidity, a sense of ease. Now, this movement called moves like a river starts off with just a weight shift where hands are on the knees. We're shifting the weight side to side. Let me tell you a little bit about the feet. The toes are relaxed. As this gets hard, you'll tend to death grip with your toes. Keep your toes relaxed. It's going to help your mind stay relaxed. The inner arches of your feet are picking up. Easy to let them collapse as the knees collapse in. So the knees have this outward going sense to them as we shift side to side. As you get that shift, now allow the upper body to start to trail, similar to what we did with knocking on the door of life and the arms were trailing. Hips are leading the movement and the upper body is just simply lagging behind. Letting the tension go in the mid-back, especially the place right behind the solar plexus. So right where your mid-back and your low back meet. The head lags, the hips lead. And then we're going to set the arms to flight. So the arms come up overhead and lag behind the hips. The breathing is disconnected. It's simply steady. The tongue is resting on the roof of their mouth. We're breathing in and out through the nose. The demand is increasing. So there'll be a cue in the body to start to breathe heavier. A little of that is okay, but see if you can keep it on the soft side. Let's go one more to each side. And then just hang forward. So come to the center. Pick the inner arches of the feet up. The toes rest down like gentle kickstands. And hands can come to the floor if you'd like. They can rest on your knees. If you're flexible enough, you can bring elbows to the floor. I'm not. And then release the back of your head. So let the crown of the head move towards the earth. The tailbone picks up just a bit skyward. As we continue to release the back of the neck. And then stack one hand on top of the other with a breath in. The arms come up overhead. We come into a slight back bend, and with a breath out, we reach forward. This is called full body flow, where we're opening up the front of the body with a breath in, and with a breath out, we're reaching forward, opening the back body. As you take that breath in, feel how the breath in, at the same time you drop the tailbone, helps protect the low back. A back bend can be a bit threatening. And so we're going to step into the fire in a smart and stable way. And we do that by doing it with a breath in and allowing the tailbone to drop towards the earth as we come into that back bend. Feel how that gives you a little more stability. The knees are soft, not locked. Let's go one more. So a breath in as we come up, and a breath out to release. And let's walk the feet in. Thumbs come to the low back now. So pressing in right there. We're going to do a circular movement with the hips. Get our Qi Gong hula on. The thumbs press in as the hips go forward. It's just a nice gentle press in that helps the vertebrae, the facet joints of your low back. Just remember what to do, how to come into that nice easy back bend. It's a movement we tend to lose as we sit a lot. And let's go the other direction. You may feel some clicks, snaps, and pops. That's okay. All right. Now we're going to transition into a movement that we're going to build on in the next couple of sessions. It's a form of spinal cord breathing called tiger flow. We'll come into our spinal cord breathing position. This time we're going to create tiger claws. So we come in with a breath in, hold our tiger claws, and with a breath out, we press forward as though connecting to this fierce nature that we have. And then we soften it by spiraling the hands and coming back to a tiger position. Now that's half the flow. The next part, with a breath out, we're going to take those tiger claws and press them behind us. A little bit of a forward bend. The back is nice and flat. We can feel a little tension in the hamstrings maybe. And then spiral the hands again, that soft nature, to bring them back. So we're alternating between this kind of rigid, fierce, and pairing it with a soft letting go. So here we go. A breath in, a breath out, a breath in, a breath out, breath in, breath out. Spiral the hands, breath in, press back with a breath out. Spiral the hands, breath in, breath out. Spiral the hands, breath in, press back with a breath out. Spiral the hands to come back and release. So like I said, we'll build on that one. What we're essentially going to do is start to take it into a squat where we start to turn the volume up on it. But right now it's helpful just to get that movement down. So let's bring the feet together now. We're going to do a centering, flowing movement as we push to the finish line where we get to sit and answer a couple questions. One hand rests under the lower abdomen. This hand just helps hold the sense that this is where we hold energy. And then the other hand circles around, gathers energy, brings it down the center line of the body. And then lets that energy just rest in the lower dantian. Breath in, we gather energy, use that energy to help clear tension in the mind, in the heart, and then let that energy rest. Each time that hand lands, notice that your footprint can get a little stronger. Let's go one more on each side. A breath in. So that full breath in and this nice, again, luxurious breath out. That slow breath out is great to bring in any time of year, but especially this time of year, where we tend to lean into breathing in and shortchange the breath out. And now the most complicated movement in Qi Gong called bamboo in the wind. Those of you well versed in yoga, it's almost your standing Shavasana. So the knees bend. Allow the force of your body to extend into the earth, and just imagine that force going well beyond where your feet make contact with the floor or the ground. And as you connect to that energy going downward, allow your upper body to simply rock and sway with any energy you can sense. Now, that energy could be internal, it could be external. In the world of energy, it's all one energy. So just allow a little rock and sway to emerge. You don't have to force anything. If you feel it, great. And if you don't worry. And just recognize that this beginning Qigong practice starts to create momentum that takes energies we experience during the day that may not be completely pleasant, but gives us the ability to convert them to inspiration and courage. And so as your day, as your week goes on and you bump into those feelings, you can give a smile to them knowing this is fertilizer for inspiration and courage. Thank you for your practice.